Hello everyone, and welcome to the lecture on multiple inheritance. In this lecture, we'll create two base classes and then we'll create another derived class, and this derived class is going to inherit from our two base classes. Okay, let's start. Our first base class is person, and then let's define it, the special init method, and then I'll pass in self, name, and age as attributes, and then I'll initialize those attributes. Self.name is equal to name, and self.age is equal to age. Then let's define some more methods for our person class. Let's say change age, and I'll pass in self and age as attributes, and let me initialize the age attribute. Self.age equal to age. Let me define one more special method. Define, we saw the str special method before. I'll pass in self as an attribute, and then this will simply return self.name plus, let's put some space in between, and then plus, let's return self.age. And since self.age returns an integer, I'll convert the result to string just by using this method. So string str in parentheses self.age. So it will change, age will give us integer, so it will change integer to a string. Great. Let's create another base class, and we'll name this class address. This is just to separate my classes for visual. Okay, class, let's say address, addr, then define the init special method, then pass self, city, and state as my attributes, and I'll initialize city and state. Self.city is equal to city, and self.state is equal to state. And let me define another method for my address class. Let's say change city, and then I'll pass in self and city as attributes, and then let me initialize city. Self.city is equal to city. Great. Then let me define one more special method for my address class. Str, I'll pass in self, and this will simply return the city, self.city. And then similarly, let me have some space in between, plus self.state. This already returns a string, so I don't need to convert it into a string. Okay, let's have another class. And I'll have a student class. Let's say class student. This will be the student class will be my derived class. So I'm going to pass in person and address as my base classes, since they are my base classes. So I'll have to pass person and then address classes. Good. Now let me instantiate my objects. Define init init, then I'll pass in self as an attribute, so a student can have name, let's say age, city, state, grade, and GPA. So I'll use those attributes for my student class, and then let me initialize those attributes. So we have to initialize the person instance since we are going to inherit that. So person.init and pass in self, name, and age, right? Name and age. Similarly, we have to initialize our address. So for that, address dot init, and then it has self, city, and state as attributes. So pass in self, city, and state as attributes. Then I'll initialize. So notice here I don't have to initialize all of this. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 attributes besides self, but I don't have to initialize all those 6 attributes. Some of them are already initialized. So the ones that are not initialized so far are grade and GPA. So let me initialize those. Self.grade is equal to grade is equal to grade, and self.GPA is equal to GPA. And let me define some methods for my student class. Let's say define change GPA, and then pass in self and GPA attributes. So I'll initialize the GPA attribute. Self.GPA is equal to GPA. Let me define another class. Define, let's say, change age, and I'll pass in self and age as attributes. So let me initialize the age attribute. Self.age is equal to, let's say this will change the age by 10. So whatever age we pass, it will add 10 to it. Okay. Let me have one more special method for my student class. Define string, and I'll pass in self as an attribute, and this will simply return so person dot our string method, and then I'll pass in self plus, let me put some space so that it's more readable when it comes to the results, plus, then I'll pass address dot string self plus, let me put some space, plus, now I'll pass GPA and then grade, right? So it will be self.grade plus, let's put some space, plus self.GPA. Okay. So remember what we did here? For age, since age is an integer, we use the string function to convert the result to string. Similarly, we can convert, since grade and GPA are integers, or it could be floats. So to change that result, we have to use the string method to convert it into string. So I'll pass that. Same thing here, string self.gpa. Great. Okay. Now let me initialize my student class. Okay. Let's see if I can minimize it so that you can all see it. We can all see the two classes here. So this person class is my base class, and I have another base class called address, and this student class is going to inherit these two base classes, person and address. So I passed in those two classes here. That's because I'm going to pass in the person and address base classes in my student class. And here I have initialized the person instance and the address instances. And finally here for printing, I'm returning person.string.self since it's already defined here. I don't have to type self and then the other attributes. That's a shortcut. Okay. Now, let me initialize my student class. Let's say student1 is equal to student, and student takes in 6 attributes. So let me pass those attributes. Let's say Johnny, and name is Johnny, age, let's say 20, and city, let's say he's from DC. Let's make this Washington DC, and then we'll make his state as DC. Then let's say grade 12, and then let's say his GPA is 3.6. Okay, if I save that, oh, I got an error. Student. I misspelled student. STUDENT. So save that again. Now, if I print S1, I get the following, right? Johnny. So if I print student, I get Johnny, 20, Washington, DC, his state DC, grade, and GPA. Similarly, I can instantiate another student class. Let's say for that, let's pass Tom. Then let's say Tom is 21. He's from, let's say Tom is from New Jersey, and then he's from New Jersey City, and then his state is New Jersey. Tom is in grade 12, and let's say his GPA is 3.8. Okay, if I save that and then print S2, I get that. Okay, what if I want to change the age of Johnny? Here I have the change age method here, right? And I also have, let me minimize it. I also have change age method in my person class. So if I pass, let me show you the example. So if I say S1 dot, if I hit tab, I have all those methods. Let me use change age and pass, let's say 37. So in this case, since I have the change age method in my student class, which is my derived class, it will go and use the method, the change age method in my class, and it will override the change age method in the parent class. So let me run it, change age, and then if I print S1 again, I get Johnny 47. That's because initially Johnny was 20, right? Initially Johnny was 20 years old, since I passed 20, and then I said change age to, and then I passed in 37 as my value, so it will go to the change age method and then do 37 plus 10. So I got 47. So this is an example of overriding. Great. Now, similarly, if I do S1 dot hit tab, and then what if I change the city? If I use the change city method, and let's say change city. Do we have change city in student? No. Do we have change city in address? Yes. So it's going to inherit the change city method. So if I pass in change city and then put, let's say, New York, then save that and then print S1, I get New York. Initially Johnny's city was Washington, DC. So inheritance is not limited to just one class. As we saw here, we can inherit from multiple classes. So here student is my derived class, and person and address are my base classes. And we can always inherit from multiple classes, and we can also override by using the method overriding instance. Great. I know it's a lot, but it's going to make sense. And the reason why I use this example is just to show you that inheritance is not limited to just one class. Okay. Thank you, everyone, and I'll see you at the next lecture.